So if you haven't heard, NCSoft is re-releasing Blade and Soul, and that re-release is called Blade and Soul Neo Classic. This is a remastered version of the classic Blade and Soul, and it's supposed to take the Blade and Soul IP in a slightly different direction. I know a lot of you guys really remember Blade and Soul back in the glory days, and you guys are very nostalgic about it. It had fantastic combat, so much potential, pretty solid gameplay until NCSoft essentially dropped the ball on it, and it is obviously at best a shell of what it used to be. This is the reason why a lot of you guys are pretty excited with a relaunching and redirection of Blade and Soul. Now, this game has actually already dropped in China, and we have been able to play this game. So in this video, I want to show you guys pretty much what the current state of Blade and Soul Neo Classic is in China, and the best way I feel like I can deliver this to you guys is to get the thoughts and perspective of someone that is very much a seasoned veteran to the Blade and Soul series. He is someone that has played this game extensively way back in the day, as well as the new Neo Classic on the Chinese servers. I've personally played the classic version, or excuse me, the live version, as well as the new Neo Classic version. However, I have not yet gotten to the end game, and I also didn't play a lot of the original version of the game. So I feel like it would be better for me to share his thoughts so that he can give you guys better insight as to what to expect with Neo Classic. Today's guest goes by the name IllTV, and he is a juiced out player, very well respected, high skill level player when it comes to the Blade and Soul series. All of his links can be found in the description below, so definitely go check out his socials. But before we begin, quick sponsor. Guild Wars 2's latest expansion, Janthier Wilds, is set to release August 20th and is bringing you some massive updates that you may just want to check out. If you're brand new to the Guild Wars 2 title, this is one of the very few truly non-pay-to-win games that respects your time with account-wide unlocks for many of its features, and on top of that, Guild Wars 2 is completely free to start if you want to just try it out. And if you enjoy it, well, the Janthier Wilds expansion is set to release content quarterly, so you have something to look forward to throughout the entire year. Challenging cooperative content ranging from 3 new open world explorable maps, a 50-player convergences event, brand new challenge mode raids and dungeons, and even updates in the mounts department. On top of all this, a brand new housing system called the Homesteads will be introduced for the very first time, which is an account-wide personal instance with a structure and land for you to decorate and cultivate. No lottery, land grab, rent, or maintenance involved. Also, you really can't have a major expansion without new weapons, right? Janthier Wilds will also bring in a brand new weapon for all professions. First time in Guild Wars 2 history, a new weapon type will be introduced for land combat: the two-handed spear. If you're interested in joining one of the healthiest and inclusive communities in the gaming scene, be sure to check out the latest expansion for Guild Wars 2, Janthier Wilds, using the link in the description below. First, let's properly introduce our guest, Mr. IllTV. Who is he, and what kind of experience does he have with Blade and Soul?
My name is Ill on BNS, but it's easier to call me Matt. I've played Blade and Soul for about 7 years. I think the last time that I worked it out, I've played for about 16,000 hours, which is kind of insane when I counted it all up. I mostly play PvP. I'm probably within the sort of top 1 to 2% of PvP players on Blade and Soul.
Before jumping into Blade and Soul Neo, I think a point of reference is important here. Why did Blade and Soul Live die? Pretty simple question. The game is still being serviced, but I think we can all agree that in the eyes of the public, most people would consider the game dead.
What people tend to say about Blade and Soul is the pay to win killed it, like Trove, RNG boxes, all that kind of thing. Personally, I don't believe that's the case. It's sort of NCSoft. They basically stopped caring about the game. What killed it for me was a patch called Awakening, where they completely dumbed down the skill system. PvP games would be a one-shot fiesta. There was no sort of skill expression. A lot of the dungeons just sort of ended up being one-dimensional. There I didn't think there was much fun to it. It was all very easy. Just playing Neo today, I hopped on for a bit. Having to manage your focus, your HP, then comparing that to retail, it's just, you can brain dead AFK on retail and not really have to worry about most things. But I might be a bit out of date of that because I've not played retail in 3 or 4 years, so...
Okay, so next, I wanted to talk about some of the core differences between the original Blade and Soul Live and Neo Classic.
If you were to look at a game like old school RuneScape and compare it to the current RuneScape, they have sort of taken a direction of it being like a Classic Plus server. So you're starting in a Classic direction, but a lot of what's in here, the systems and all that, are different. As a main part, the accessory system is god-awful, but at the same time, it's manageable. It's not as bad as everyone believes it to be. I know it gets a lot of hate, but as soon as you start playing, you realize it's really not that bad. In my opinion, I think they're just doing it for the sake of being different. The accessories in Blade and Soul Neo determine what your skill specs are, whereas on Live, you can just sort of freely spec into a skill without having it determined by your accessories or anything. That's a completely different system from your accessories. However, Neo dictates your skill setup by your accessories. You'll have 6 accessories, and all of them, dependent on the rarity, they can roll up to 3 different skills on each of them. Each skill also has a specialization, I suppose you could say. So you've got first spec, second spec, and third spec, and each of them will roll a different spec. I'm mix and matching like spec 1 and spec 3 right now to get like the PvP build that I want. The issue is getting the the skills that you actually want. You could be farming for like a week plus and get 2 out of 3 of the skills that you want, but because your third skill might be so essential to your build, you just have to throw it away. And that's sort of the downfall of the system. It's not too bad because they do give you reroll tokens if you do your daily and weekly quests per week. So say you got like the perfect accessory with perfect substat and 2 out of 3 of your skills, you can then just sort of keep it in the back burner and re-roll the one skill that you just need to get right, and eventually you'll get your perfect accessory, which isn't too bad because a lot of the skill re-rolls are a 1 in 3 chance. Some of them are like 1 in 2 depending on the spec, so most times you've got a 1 in 3 chance of getting the skill that you want, but that does mean you can re-roll from the skill that you already have to the skill that you already have. That's a little bit cringe, but it's really not that bad.
Next, I asked Il to tell us some of the good and to tell us some of the bad.
The good is that we have classic Blade and Soul back in some sort of capacity. The era of this game that we're in right now on Neo is like unmatched. This is like perfect. If they actually went back and just released this as it was back in the day, it would be perfect. But random changes that they've made, it makes it a little bit less perfect, but definitely preferable to playing retail, and even, I would say, preferable to playing on a private server, because the amount of people playing is just absolutely insane. I mean, just playing on China, there's so many people. There's, I think, a few months back, every time that they do a maintenance, the lobby numbers change all the way back to 0. And I think within about 2 to 3 hours, maybe 4, it was up to about 50,000 lobbies. There's a lot of activity that BNS hasn't seen for like years, maybe 5 years plus.
The importance of the endgame loop, super crucial when it comes to an MMORPG. I wanted to know what the endgame loop would be like for Blade and Soul Neo Classic.
Currently, I would say, at least in the version that we're most likely going to get, your endgame loop would be rushing Junghado, which is the solo dungeon. And assuming that the global version follows China in some sort of way, your best in slot weapon is locked behind Junghado. You'll need to be farming this for a minimum of 6 weeks to get the materials to make this weapon. You can only get one of the material every week, so it's character locked. So it'll take you a minimum of 6 weeks. So Junghado is really important. It's going to be very tough for people when they first begin because it's actually quite a difficult boss. And outside of that, it's mostly you do your daily challenge, which is 3 quests. So for example, if I was going to do my daily challenge now, I would do Junghado, which is 2 of the 3, and then I might do Poharon, which is a 6-man dungeon. And then if I really want to make gold, I would also do Bloodshade Harbor and maybe 3 matches of 6v6. Oh, and what they've done with these, originally the dungeons, they've split them into 2 on Neo, where they used to be like a 40-minute run, 40 minutes to like an hour run. They're now like 15 minutes each. So that's a lot more preferable. You get through that fairly quickly. And another thing would be faction dailies. So your PvP, I suppose you could call them like faction PvP dailies. So you would flag yourself as a member of like the Cerulean faction, and you'd have people on the other side in the Crimson faction also doing these quests. The intention is that you like fight over objectives and all that. Generally, the gist of it is that a lot of people tend to sort of have this truce. They get on with their faction dailies, they don't attack each other, which is a shame. So you would do your faction dailies, your normal dailies, your solo dungeon, you do a bit of 6v6, and you do all that to get these tickets, which you can then craft into weapons, accessories, and all that. They've got something called Demon's Bane. If someone's played original Blade and Soul, that's basically like challenge mode, and that's where a lot of legendary weapons and stuff are locked behind. You can do it like 3 times per week. There's a ranking for it, so the higher your performance, the better you do. You get rewarded for being a high rank at the end of the season and whatnot. Getting your challenge mode dailies, your Demon's Bane, out of the way as soon as you can, getting a good score, and then from there it's doing faction dailies all day, every day, as well as your daily challenge stuff and all that kind of stuff. And then from there, most people just like to try hard 6v6 because that's currently the only PvP that we have. Or if you're a PvE sweat, you would go min-maxing your gear by running dungeons over and over and over again. But it doesn't take too long to get to a viable sort of level of gear. It's just if you want to be like a mega try hard, get all the max gear and all that, you can be seeing yourself in dungeons for like 6 hours per day.
The final question, probably the most important one. Let's address the elephant in the room. Monetization and pay to win. I asked ILTV to walk us through this very important subject.
This one has to be taken with a grain of salt. This is China. In every instance of Blade and Soul that we've had, the Chinese server differs greatly from what we'd get in global. If it released to global as it is right now, it would be dead on arrival. I would say I think it's like 4 months that Neo's been out, we've had 6 battle passes. They sell cosmetics for absurd amounts. They're currently selling a really, really like basic outfit that you got back in like 45 patch back in the day on Blade and Soul. There's something that would have sold for like, I don't know, not even $10. They're selling it for $36 in the shop. They've just got random price points on everything. It's like they don't actually know the game because a lot of this stuff is just overblown. A big thing about China as well is that you can buy, and I think you can buy stuff on the market for real money. Someone's selling an outfit for $500. There's someone selling a outfit that used to, I think it's a 0.0010% chance to get it from an RNG box. Someone's selling that on there for $2,000. You can get a best in slot weapon for $30, I suppose I should say. You could log in, get to the level, like level 45 that you need to wear all this stuff, swipe £1,000, and someone would be able to catch up with me after me playing for months with relative ease just from buying everything from the marketplace. The only way that I'd have a gap on them is the fact that some of the stuff that I've done can't be bought. Insignia is something that you can't buy. Well, actually, no, you can swipe insignias. What am I saying? For the most part, everything you can just swipe on here. I'd say with the exception of Soul Shields, which is sort of like your armor. It gives you your HP stats and your crit damage, all that kind of stuff. You can't pay to win for Soul Shields, and you can't pay to win for card collections. Those are like the 2 non-pay to win grinds. But everything on China, with the exception of those 2, can pretty much be swiped for. It is a completely different monetization than what we should get in global. As I said, it would be dead on arrival. China has always had, I think, I'm not an expert on Chinese retail BNS, but Chinese market has always been the same, where you can just use real life money to buy stuff off the market, like items and all that. If I was minted, I could go on Chinese retail BNS and probably buy everything that I need. Again, with the exception of Soul Shields. I can't imagine this coming to the West like this. They'd completely have to redesign it. It's not something, at least everyone that I've talked to about it, they would not want this. It's completely pay to win.
That's pretty much it, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you did find this helpful, entertaining, informative, whatever that may be. Also, don't forget to show our guy some love, Mr. ILTV. All of his links can be found in the description below. I'll see you boys in the next video.